that youth is the most potent catalyst for changing the fate of the country, and hence the future of the nation rests in their hands. His words have continued to inspire the young people for generations. His message is replete with infinite encouragement for the young minds to achieve great things. On this energizing note, I would like to invite Swami Bhaktirupananda, who is the Secretary of Ramakrishna Mission Ashram Kanpur, to say something on transformation of Narendranath Dutta to Swami Vivekananda.
Namaste Adirajaya Vivekananda Samiti Sachit Sukasarupaya Swami Apahari. Respected faculty members, the respected guests of honor, Justice Palan Basu and Professor Ramakrishna, and my dear students. So it's a great honor and a great pleasure to be here this morning in order to share some thoughts about Swami Vivekananda. The topic, how Swami became Vivekananda, how Narendranath became Swami Vivekananda, is a very vast and difficult subject. There are so many things to be told, and I don't know how much of that I can cover, because in the limited span of time I have to cover all the aspects in a judicious manner. Let me see how much I can do. As you know that one thing that I would like to tell that Swami Vivekananda, Narendranath became Swami Vivekananda only under the inspiration and tutelage of Sri Ramakrishna, his master. So, if we exclude Sri Ramakrishna, we shall not be able to understand anything of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda was a national awakener. He was a very talented speaker, an orator, a scholar, and he knew so many languages. He had so many different aspects of his personality, very rich personality. But we have to understand that he was mainly a spiritual person. And if we neglect that spiritual aspect, there will be nothing left of Swamiji. And Swamiji says that India has to rise only through spirituality and religion. Not giving up religion and spirituality, but through religion. Because the life of this nation lies in religion. If we give up religion, then there will be nothing. And that will virtually mean the death of India. So he was a social reformer, he was a national awakener, he was an educationist, a scholar, so many aspects. But even through all this, he was a spiritual leader, he was a man of spirituality. And as his master says that God realization is the aim of human life. So we have to, these two twin personalities actually, though apparently they are very different, but they have actually their goals, their aim was the same. To reawakening, spiritual reawakening of the man, that was their task. And through that reawakening of man, the nation was to be raised, and it had to, nation, not only India, but the whole world had to be raised spiritually. That was Sri Ramakrishna's goal, that is what he wanted, that is the purpose for which he came. And Swami Vivekananda came just to complement the work of Sri Ramakrishna. It has been said by Shankaracharya that Swa Prayojana Abhavepi Bhutanam Jigrikshaya. But they did not have anything to achieve. Both Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda. They had absolutely nothing to. Swa Prayojana Abhavepi. They did not have any expectation, nothing to gain, nothing to receive. So why they came? So Bhutanam Jigrikshaya, only for the benefit of the human beings. That was the only purpose. Because we are born to work out our prarabdha, our karma. So it is a different case altogether. But in case of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, and the other Nitya Siddhas, as Sri Ramakrishna tells in the Gospel, they come only for the well-being of the world, of the humankind, mankind. That is the only purpose. And Swami Vivekananda actually comes to Sri Ramakrishna. That's also very interesting. He was a very brilliant student, as you know, of the Calcutta University. And he was studying first arts in the General Assembly's institution, whose principal was Professor William Hastie. And William Hastie says that he has taught in German universities, come across many brilliant students, but none of them like Narendranath. That is what his principal had to tell. And this principal, William Hastie, was the person who actually directed Swami Vivekananda to Sri Ramakrishna for the first time. He was taking a class on English literature, and the English professor was sick, so the principal comes to take the class on English literature, and he was going through a poem by William Wordsworth, that is, To the Daffodils, which describes the beauty of nature and how the poet is transported to a different realm, different world altogether, in a state of ecstasy. So he was trying to explain what is ecstasy, and it's an abstract thing. It's very difficult to explain. So he said that I am not able to fully explain what this word ecstasy means, but I have seen only one person in my life who has experienced ecstasy. When the mind becomes absolutely concentrated on God, then this ecstasy comes. And the lovers of nature also experience ecstasy because of this one-pointedness, when the mind becomes concentrated on the beauty of nature. So that he was telling that if you want to see ecstasy for yourself, then you go to Dakshineshwar. There is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, that is, he is the only person whom I have seen, is the person who has experienced ecstasy for himself, samadhi. So that is how Narendranath comes to know about Sri Ramakrishna. Of course, not that Sri Ramakrishna was not known, because Keshav Chandra, Sri Ramakrishna, as you know, was an unlettered person. He did not go to any university, any college, he had no formal education. He was just a priest in the Dakshineshwar temple, doing the worship of Mother Kali, and you'll be astonished to know his salary, his wage was 7.5 rupees per month in those days, of course. So he was just a very ordinary servant of the temple committee, doing worship of the Mother Kali. That was Sri Ramakrishna. And as I told you that he was not a scholar, he was not an orator, not a speaker. So just an ordinary priest of the Kali temple. But how actually he became known in Calcutta society, it was because of Keshav Chandra Sen. Keshav Chandra Sen, the Brahmo leader, was a well-known personality, not only in India, but also in the West. He was invited to England to meet the Queen Victoria, and he became a very well-known celebrity in England. He was called to lecture in many places. She was the towering personality, Keshav Chandra Sen. And Sri Ramakrishna goes to meet Keshav Chandra Sen in Jayagopal Sen's garden house in Bengalia. Because Sri Ramakrishna had this habit. Whenever he heard that a person is devoted to God, he meditates on God, he is spiritually inclined, then without invitation, Sri Ramakrishna used to go and meet him. He was a very humble person. He never thought that I am a big saint, let people come to me and bow down to me. That was not his spirit. So he was a humble servant of God, that was his spirit, a child of Mother Kali, and he goes to see Keshav Chandra Sen. And actually, when he went actually, he had no clothes, he had just one piece of cloth. So the dhoti, one end of the dhoti he had wrapped around his shoulder. So that was actually, that is how he went. He had no other clothes, no banyan, no shirt, only one piece of dhoti and put it across. As you see in the pictures of Sri Ramakrishna. And no slippers on, just barefooted he goes in a horse carriage with Narendranath, his bhanja. And these people think that it is just an ordinary curious visitor from a village, and the Brahmo devotees there who are staying with Keshav Chandra Sen for their spiritual practices, they did not take any note of him. Sri Ramakrishna saluted, that was his practice. Whenever he met a person, whether he was high or low, he always saluted him. So he saluted the Brahmo devotees also, but none of the Brahmo devotees actually bowed down to him. They thought he is a simple villager, he had just come out of curiosity, there is nothing to note about him. And he actually asked Keshav Chandra Sen to speak something about God. Because Keshav Chandra Sen was renowned as a lover of God, as a great devotee. And Sri Ramakrishna wanted to hear something about, from him. And Keshav Chandra, of course, Sri Ramakrishna requested Keshav Chandra to speak, but as the things turned out, Sri Ramakrishna had to speak all through. They sat there for about 2 or 3 hours, and Sri Ramakrishna was the only speakers. And the rest were all there's an audience only, including Keshav Chandra Sen. Because when he started speaking, all the members, they were dumbfounded. They could not believe that a simple, humble person like Sri Ramakrishna, this ordinary villager whom they thought, actually has such profound depth. Because the person who has realized God, he has a special power. We speak because of some knowledge that we have gained by reading books. But the people who have realized God, it is an entirely different thing altogether. Their words have a great power which compels people to be drawn towards them. That was the thing we find with Sri Ramakrishna. That was the thing we find with Swami Vivekananda, with Holy Mother, and all the spiritual persons Krishna, you know that how these gopis were actually attracted towards him. He was only a boy of 5 or 6 years old. And gopis actually were grown-up ladies with families, with husbands and children. But how these gopis were drawn towards Krishna, this cannot be described. And even if we try to describe it, it will not be understandable. Because it is a thing which has to be experienced for oneself. It cannot be described. So that is actually Sri Ramakrishna, this kept Keshav Chandra Sen and his followers spellbound for the entire period. He came to listen, but God wanted him to speak, and he spoke for 3 hours non-stop. They were putting question after question. They means only Keshav Chandra Sen, and he was answering. So wherever Sri Ramakrishna went, he went to listen. But as the things turned out, he was the speaker. He had to speak, not as a platform speaker, just in a kind of a parlor talk, just a homely interaction. So that was the beauty of Sri Ramakrishna. When he went to meet Vidyasagar, the great scholar, the principal of Sanskrit college, he was the speaker, not Vidyasagar. All those actually conversations have been recorded, and we find it in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We do not find that Vidyasagar speaking anything, or Keshav Chandra speaking before him. Because when they met a gigantic spiritual personality like Swami Sri Ramakrishna, they were silenced automatically, and they had nothing to speak. So that is how actually Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda comes to Sri Ramakrishna. What I was telling, through this Keshav Chandra Sen, the Calcutta Society came to know about Sri Ramakrishna. Because Keshav Chandra Sen was so much attracted to him, he used to visit regularly Dakshineshwar with his followers. And you must have read in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, they go for a boat ride on a moonlit night with the Brahmo followers and many other devotees. And that is also recorded in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna had to speak, not the formal way in which we speak, but informally. He used to sit, and naturally he was the point of attraction for everyone. Because he was a man of God, realization. And Sri Ramakrishna tells one gets the authority to speak of God only after his realization. Then only people will come to him. Automatically he will not have to advertise. He said that when the flower blossoms, the bees come of their own. The flower does not have to invite the bees. The bees come of their own. So that was Sri Ramakrishna. That was Swami Vivekananda. People were naturally attracted towards him. So Keshav Chandra Sen actually became a great follower of Sri Ramakrishna. He was the topmost spiritual teacher of Calcutta in those days, and probably in the whole of India. He was the leader of the Brahmo Samaj, and he had a magazine of his own, Indian Mirror. It was probably Delhi, I think, English Delhi. So regularly Keshav Chandra Sen used to write about Sri Ramakrishna. Whenever he came to meet Sri Ramakrishna, he recorded everything. And that he used to publish in the Indian Mirror. So that way the entire city of Calcutta knew about Sri Ramakrishna. So not that Narendranath was not knowing, but Narendranath knew about Sri Ramakrishna because everyone knew, especially the students' community. And Narendranath knew additionally because of his principal who said that if you want to see ecstasy for yourself, then go to Dakshineshwar, meet Paramahamsa Ramakrishna, and there you will see what is this ecstasy, the samadhi, how a person actually experiences that and how he loses himself in the thought of God. Now, as it happens, how this Narendranath came to meet Sri Ramakrishna for the first time. He knew about Sri Ramakrishna. Principal told him. The media published about Sri Ramakrishna. Not that Sri Ramakrishna was not known. So Sri Ramakrishna came to that same locality where Narendranath was living. That is the Simla locality of Calcutta, North Calcutta. And Sri Ramakrishna, it was his habit to visit the places of devotees in Calcutta, because it was not possible for all the devotees to come to Dakshineshwar. It was very difficult, and there was no proper transportation in those days. One had either to come by boat or a horse carriage. So Sri Ramakrishna, for the convenience of the devotee, used to come himself in horse carriage to different localities in Calcutta, and there would be a congregation of many devotees, and Sri Ramakrishna would speak to them about God. He had nothing to gain, and he was not a professional speaker that somebody had to pay a fee and listen to him, nothing like that. Sri Ramakrishna used to go just because he loved God, and he wanted to take the entire population towards God, which is the purpose of life. So he had nothing, exactly nothing to expect. He had no expectation from anyone. He had no need for himself, but he used to go for the good of the people. What is called Loka Sangraha in the Gita, for the good of the people. There is no other expectation. So Sri Ramakrishna used to go to Calcutta. He went to the same locality where Narendranath was staying. He was a student of the FA class, first arts, that is equivalent to intermediate today. And he was about 15 or 16 maybe. And Sri Ramakrishna goes to that Simla locality to meet the devotees in Surendranath Mitra. There was one devotee called Surendranath Mitra, and he had to meet the devotees there. And whenever Sri Ramakrishna went, he would speak and he would sing also. He was a very, and people who have listened to Sri Ramakrishna, they say that they never listened to another singer with a better voice, with a sweeter voice than Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna used to sing with full of spirit, with full of devotion. And that made his music actually very, very attractive to the devotees, the congregation. So he went to Surendranath Mitra's house. He was speaking, he was singing, and also singers were invited to sing bhajans and kirtans, because Sri Ramakrishna always liked to listen to kirtans, to bhajans and all that. So Sri Ramakrishna used to sing himself, and other singers also came and sang. So now, these days, Surendranath Mitra could not get any singer in the neighborhood, unfortunately. She was actually wondering whom to invite. And then he suddenly remembered about Narendranath. He was a young boy only. His neighbor's son. So Narendranath's father, Vivekananda Dutta, was a neighbor of Surendranath Mitra. So he invites Narendranath, a young boy of course, but he was a beautiful singer, he was trained in music, and he was invited. And he came to Surendranath's building, house, and he sang. And Sri Ramakrishna was very much enchanted to listen to him. Mano chala Nikedana. That means, oh mind, go back to your own abode. The world is not our abode. Our abode is somewhere else, and the poet says that goading the mind to go back to its own abode. So that was the song. And Narendranath sang it with a lot of devotion, fully immersed in the spirit of the song. And Sri Ramakrishna was charmed. And he went into ecstasy listening to this song. And he was actually very attracted to see Narendranath, because this Sri Ramakrishna had that wonderful faculty of judging, of seeing a person through and through, because of his spiritual enlightenment. And as Swami Vivekananda says, he saw a person and could find out everything what is inside. Just if you keep things in in a glass almirah, we can see everything what it contains. So similarly, Sri Ramakrishna, whenever he looked at a person, he could judge what was inside. So Sri Ramakrishna immediately understood this person, that he was no ordinary boy. He was very much attracted towards him. And he actually invited for Sri Ramakrishna. He had no plans to visit Dakshineshwar, but Sri Ramakrishna invites him to come to Dakshineshwar. He was so much attracted to him, because Sri Ramakrishna knew who was the person and what was the purpose of his coming and what role he had to play in the divine mission. So he invited him to come to Dakshineshwar. And I shall tell about one vision of, spiritual vision of Sri Ramakrishna, which is very interesting. So it was long before Swami Vivekananda was born. Sri Ramakrishna in one day, in a ecstasy, he felt that his mind was going upwards to subtler and subtler regions, transcending this physical universe. And he saw across on the both sides gods and goddesses. Then that is the field of duality. Then transcends the field of duality and enters into the transcendental realm, where there is no duality, no gods and goddesses. So that is the Advaita state, the transcendental state. The gods and goddesses, they stay only in the relative plane, which is much lower. So here his mind had gone to transcendental realm, transcending this duality, this relative world. And there he found, to his astonishment, 7 sages sitting in deep meditation. So these things we cannot explain. How in this, in the transcendental realm, where there is no duality, how these rishis came and they were meditating, we cannot understand. This only Sri Ramakrishna can understand, because as it has been told by a poet, that there are many things which are, what is that sentence?
Horatio. There are many things in this world which cannot hear of. Horatio. Tempest.
That's right. So there are many things which we actually do not, which is beyond the scope of the philosopher. So it was something like that. So Sri Ram, actually the mind of Sri Ramakrishna goes to transcendental realm. There he finds 7 sages sitting, and he sees that a part of that transcendental realm, that region, it takes the form of a human child. That human child goes and puts his soft childlike arms around the neck of one of the rishis. He was in deep meditation, and he was trying to draw the attention of the rishi, and he opens the mind, eyes ultimately, and looks lovingly toward this little child. Then the little child then saying that I am going, and you also have to go with me. So the sage did not reply anything. He only looked softly at the child and then went back into meditation. So as soon as Sri Ramakrishna saw Narendranath, he understood that this is the sage who has come in the form of this Narendranath. That Sri Ramakrishna immediately understood. And then after this, seeing that those 7 sages and this incident, when the child actually goes and puts his arm around the neck of that rishi, then he saw that part of the spirit descended to the earth in the form of a light wave, a ray of light. He felt that a ray of light actually flashed forth from that rishi and it went downwards towards the earth. And the moment Sri Ramakrishna saw Narendranath, he understood that was the child, that was the person. And actually, Sri Ramakrishna never took things casually. He knew, of course, but then he tested Narendranath repeatedly in order to know that he was the person he had seen in the vision. And he had actually come to complement the work of Sri Ramakrishna. And Narendranath, after his first experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, he wants to remain merged in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi all the time. But Sri Ramakrishna says that I had thought that you were like a big banyan tree, under whose shade thousands of weary men and women will take shelter. But you are so selfish. You want the bliss of liberation only for yourself. You do not care for others. You are very selfish. Actually, Sri Ramakrishna scolded him, rebuked him. And so Sri Ramakrishna actually, why he rebuked him? Because to remain merged in Samadhi, that is the highest thing a spiritual aspirant can hope for. But why Sri Ramakrishna scolded Narendranath? Because Narendranath had a much greater role to play. Not just realizing God for himself, because he was a realized soul already. Nitya Siddha, that means realized from very birth. He had come only for the good of the world. He had nothing to achieve for himself. So that is why Sri Ramakrishna scolded him. That you are so selfish. You want only the liberation for yourself and you are not concerned about others. So, and Sri Ramakrishna actually told him, he experienced Nirvikalpa Samadhi all right. When you go through the life, actually the time is very little. So, Narendranath went through severe austerities in Kashipur, where Sri Ramakrishna actually left his bottom coil. He was very sick, and that was the period he trained this band of young people to carry on the work. And the leadership fell on Narendranath's shoulders. And Narendranath was practicing intense spiritual discipline. And there in the Kashipur garden house, he attends to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And people think that he has passed away. His body was still, absolutely still, as if a person had passed away, only the body was lying there. And one of the disciples, another disciple, Bhaktirupananda, he runs to Sri Ramakrishna upstairs and tells that Narendra is dead, gone. But Sri Ramakrishna laughed. He knew what has actually happened. He told that let him remain in that state for some time. He has teased me long enough. Let him enjoy for some time. But Sri Ramakrishna did not allow him to remain in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. He wanted to remain in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Only come down after 4 or 5 days just to take a little food so that the body may remain. But Sri Ramakrishna did not allow him. So Swami Vivekananda says, whenever he wanted to stay in a meditative, to spend a meditative life, somebody as it were forced him to plunge into the world of activity. So that a strange power did not allow him to rest or go into that solitude, that state of samadhi which Swami Vivekananda wanted, because he had a task to accomplish and he knew that his life was very short. So Sri Ramakrishna said that you will have Nirvikalpa Samadhi. I shall give you everything. Don't worry. First do the mother's work. Because you have come to the world to do mother's work. You do the mother's work, and then I have the key to that Samadhi, your Samadhi, and I shall open out that door. And you will go back to your own abode. That is what Sri Ramakrishna told you. That you have come for mother's work, you pay full attention to mother's work, and the moment mother's work is done, you will go back to your own realm, your own stage, the region from where you came. So he said that the key to the Samadhi is in my hands, and I shall open the door for yourself only after you have done mother's work. Not until then. That is what Sri Ramakrishna told to Narendranath. And that is what we see that how actually Narendranath wanted to remain immersed in Samadhi, but every time somebody, as it were, was forcing him to plunge into activities. And that is how actually Narendranath, we find that he was kept busy because because he was the instrument only in the hands of the Divine Mother. So Divine Mother was making him do the work. And he had to go back to his own abode after accomplishing the work. And it was, Sri Ramakrishna knew, Swamiji also knew that his lifespan was very short. And in short lifespan he had to accomplish many things. He had to carry the message of Vedanta to not only India and the entire world. The message of Vedanta to the entire world. So that was the mission that he knew, and Sri Ramakrishna said that only after you have completed your work, then you will know who you are, and then you will never stay in this world for a single moment more, and you will go back to your own abode. That is what Sri Ramakrishna told him. That by the power of yoga, he will give up his body and he will go back to his own abode. So actually when Sri Swami Vivekananda was staying in Belur, shortly before his passing away, he was actually giving indications to people that his work is already done. So one day, one of his sevaks, one of the monks, junior monks of the Ramakrishna order, who was actually serving him, his guru, Vivekananda, he just casually asked him, because this thing was known to everyone, that Sri Ramakrishna had told, the moment you know yourself, you will not remain in this world and you will give up your body in the state of yoga. Through the power of yoga, you will leave your body. So that young monk asks Swami Vivekananda that, Maharaj, do you know yourself as Thakur had promised? Then he had not actually expected. Swamiji said that yes, I do. So that came as a shock to the entire monastery, because the monks knew that was Ramakrishna's prophecy many years ago, that the moment he knows who he is, he will not stay any longer in this world, and he will give up his body in yoga and go back to his own abode. So shortly before his passing away, he said that he has known himself. That means it was time for him to go. So I shall not be able to give a detailed account of that. Now I shall tell one or two things and then conclude, because it's already getting late. So one thing that I would like to tell, some of the virtues which actually Sri Swamiji imbibed from his Guru, Sri Ramakrishna. Because Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, they were not two personalities. Though their lives were entirely different. Narendranath came from a different society. Sri Ramakrishna came from an altogether different society. But their mission was same. So what actually Romarola, the author of the biographies of both, he writes that the disciple was the antithesis, direct antithesis of his Guru, had the same mission. Direct antithesis means he was just the opposite of his Guru, apparently. But it was his task to carry forward the work of the Master. So, Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda were not different. They are two personalities, and they are two sides of the same coin. We cannot separate the two sides of the same coin. They are already fused together. They always stay together. So So the life of Sri Ramakrishna, the mission of Sri Ramakrishna was the same as the mission of Swami Vivekananda. They were not different personalities, though they looked apparently different, but they were the same. So one day actually Sri Ramakrishna, after Swami Vivekananda, after Narendranath had accepted Sri Ramakrishna as his guru. So Narendranath was sitting beside him at a little distance. Sri Ramakrishna says, come closer. But he was the Sri Ramakrishna's guru, and how a disciple come and sit close to him. So the truthfulness is one of the prime teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, and that is the teaching of Swami Vivekananda also. Truthfulness, satya. And Sri Ramakrishna says that satya, that truthfulness, is the tapasya of this Kali. So he says that I could give up everything to God, but I could not give up truthfulness. So take away truthfulness and also untruthfulness, that he could not take to the Divine Mother. So he kept truth for, he says that everything can be given up, but not truthfulness. And that was the teaching of Swami Vivekananda also, that everything can be sacrificed, but not truthfulness. And the first lesson of truthfulness Narendranath gets from his own mother, Bhuvaneshwari Devi. One day the teacher of geography in the classroom asked a question. Narendranath replied him correctly, but he thought that it was wrong, and he actually told that you are wrong. And Narendranath, of course, was a very strong and vigorous person. He probably told in a little strong voice that, no sir, I am correct. So he became furious that this boy is telling that he is correct and I am wrong. He became furious and started beating him profusely. But every time Narendranath said that, no sir, I am telling correctly. This is the correct answer and not what you say. So he severely beat him. He started bleeding from his ears and went back weeping to his home. And he tells his mother, Bhuvaneshwari Devi, that tomorrow I will not go to this school. This is the thing which has happened to me today. So the mother told that, don't worry my child, always stick to truth. Do not give up truth. You have spoken the truth. The teacher did not understand that. He was under wrong impression and he beat you. But there is nothing to be worried about because you have stuck to truth and the victory is yours. So that is how this lesson of truthfulness Narendranath learned from his guru and also from his mother. So truthfulness is one of the great lessons of Sri Ramakrishna. He said that everything can be sacrificed, but not truthfulness. He gave away everything to God, but not truthfulness. There are then another teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. Swamiji, I will count just a few, one or two I shall tell because time will not permit. That is concentration. Swami Vivekananda put a lot of emphasis on concentration of mind. He says concentration is the key to the storehouse of knowledge. That is the only method of education. If you want to be educated, to learn anything, concentration is the only method of education. That is what Swami Vivekananda tells. So he says that with a concentrated mind, we can learn, we can actually acquire any knowledge with a very little effort. And he said he was a brilliant student with unfailing memory, Narendranath, Shrutidhar. But you know, Narendranath himself tells that if I had the opportunity of going through this entire process once again in my childhood to get educated, then I will not collect facts at all, going through books and collecting facts, but I will try to concentrate my mind and increase my power of concentration. With a concentrated mind, I will be able to learn whatever I want in the shortest possible time. So concentration. So Swami Vivekananda tells that with concentration we can achieve wonders. We have unknown wonders lying within us, but we do not know that. And Professor William James, the great psychologist, said that a man, even a brilliant person of this world, a genius, he utilizes only a fragment of his mind. At the most 5% of his mind he utilizes, and the 95% of his mind goes waste. That he has proved experimentally. So much of energy actually, so much of capability has been given to us by God. But we do not understand that and we do not utilize that. So with lack of concentration, we fail in all our endeavors. So what that is, concentration is the thing which differentiates a man, a higher man from a lower man. A person is higher, a man of accomplished because he has concentration. He can concentrate his mind. A lower man does not have that power of concentration. He concentrates his mind with great difficulty, and that is why he is an inferior man, a lower man. So concentration is the thing which differentiates a lower man from a higher man. And concentration is the thing which differentiates a man from an animal. An animal cannot concentrate its mind. So it is extremely difficult to train an animal, because that power of concentration has not been given to the animals. And that's how concentration is the thing which differentiates a higher man from a lower man, and also from a man from an animal. Animal does not have the power of concentration. So animal cannot learn anything. So Swamiji put a lot of emphasis on concentration, and Swamiji, as you know, that he has a wonderful power of concentration. By reading just once, he could remember it for the whole life. Such persons are actually described in our scriptures as Shrutidhar. Once they hear, and that remains imprinted in their mind till the last day. They are Shrutidhars, and Swami Vivekananda was a Shrutidhar like that. Of this, as we find in the scriptures. And then I'll tell about, there are so many things to be told, that Shivajnana Jiva Seva, that is one of the great teachings of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda. In 1884, one day, Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room in Dakshineswar, long before he became sick. And there were so many other devotees. Narendranath also happened to be there. And Sri Ramakrishna was telling about some principal teachings of Vaishnavism. So they tell that Krishna Prem, Jivedaya and Vaishnava Seva. That we have to love God, of course that is there. And then Jivedaya, that means compassion to the other people, to the people of the world. And then Vaishnava Seva, service to the Vaishnava. That the Vaishnavas means the devotees of God. Serve the devotees of God. These are the principles, three main principles of Vaishnavism. Sri Ramakrishna was telling that. And a very pronounced compassion to the jivas, to the people. He went into a samadhi. And then he tells that you insignificant wretch, who are you to show compassion to the people? Not compassion, but service. To serve human beings, looking upon them as incarnations of Shiva. Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. That was the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. And there were so many devotees sitting there, but nobody understood the implication of what Sri Ramakrishna told. And Narendranath, after coming out from that room, he tells that today I have learned one of the greatest lessons of my life. He was only 16 or 17, that's all. And he could understand the import of that teaching. And he says that if God gives him the opportunity, he will preach it across the world. This great message that not compassion to the jivas, but worship of the Jivas, service unto the Jivas, looking upon them as embodiments of Shiva. So that is a great lesson we have learned from Sri Ramakrishna Swamiji, that by serving people, we actually worship Shiva. That is what Swamiji told in the compound in the Rameswaram temple. After his puja, he came out of the temple, and there was big people who had congregated there to listen to Swamiji. And Swami Vivekananda actually speaks for a few minutes to them. And the gist of the talk was that Shiva is pleased to a person who goes to the Shiva temple and worships him. Pours water, gives chandan, puts flower. Shiva is pleased on him. But Shiva is more pleased to a person who serves his children. Any father will be pleased when he sees somebody serving his children. So Shiva is more pleased when he sees that somebody is serving his children. All the human beings are children of the Lord. So if when we serve the children of the Lord with that spirit, Shiva is more pleased. He is more pleased than the person who goes to temple and only worships him ritualistically through flowers and water. So Shiva Jnana Jiva Shiva, that is one of the principal teachings of Sri Ramakrishna and also Swami Vivekananda. And about truthfulness, there is the wonderful story of Satyakam in the Chandogya Upanishads. There is no time to tell about that. That little boy, Satyakam, he comes to the Guru to teach, learn the Vedas. But in those days, learning of Vedas was reserved only for the people of the Ucha Varna, the higher castes. So the first question Guru would put that, tell me about your parental background, Vangsha Parichaya, and also your Gotra. He will ask about his father and also Gotra. And only after the Guru was satisfied, he will take the task of teaching Veda. So Satyakam comes as a little boy of 7. And before coming to the Guru, he asked his mother that I want to know about my father and also the Gotra to which I belong. Because that will be the first question that the Guru will put before me. Then mother told very frankly that I do not know who is your father. I was a servant, I was serving many people, and I do not know who is your father. I only know this thing, that I am Jabali and you are my son, Satyakam. So Satyakam goes and tells this thing to Guru, and Guru is very much pleased at the truthfulness of Satyakam. And he said that surely you must be a descendant of a Brahmin. Because only a Brahmin can have that straightforwardness, that adherence to truth, will never stay away from truth. So he accepted him as a student. Even though his parentage was not known, his father was not known, his Gotra was not known, but teacher is pleased and accepts him into it. And then he served this, that Ashrama, how he serves. The task which the teacher gave him, that take these 400 cows, go deep into the forest, stay in the forest till the number of cows becomes 1,000, then you come back to me. So that was the task given to Satyakam. And the student was never asked to question the teacher. So teacher, that was the command of the teacher, that was his command, that was his order to his student, and he gladly accepted. He goes with 400 cows deep into the forest, several years he stays in the forest, and he comes back. And after seeing him, the teacher tells that your face shines as a knower of Brahman. It is said that a person who knows Brahman, his face, his appearance has a glow of its own. So the Guru said, your face shines as a knower of Brahman. And how he had this knowledge of Brahman, staying in the forest all the time, not going through the teachings of Vedas from the teacher, but staying in the leading a lonely life in the forest with his cows. The nature herself came in the guise of teacher and taught him. In the guise of the fire, Agni, in the fire of bird, in the fire of a bull. So that is how Satyakam gets teaching and becomes an enlightened person and goes back to his father. I mean the Guru, to the Ashrama. So truthfulness. And then of course I will tell about a person who had seen Swami Vivekananda herself. Her name was Cornelia Conger. As you know that Swami Vivekananda goes to Chicago in 1893 to address the Parliament of Religions as a delegate representing Narendranath in Hinduism. And the committee had arranged for the stay of these delegates coming from different parts of the world in different houses, distinguished persons. And Swami Vivekananda was to stay in the house of John B. Lyons, a distinguished person. So there, the granddaughter of Lyons was a small girl of only 6 years old. She was going to school. And she became closely attached to Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda loved children, everybody loves children. So Swamiji also loved this little girl Cornelia. So every day in the afternoon after coming from the school, if Swamiji was there in the house, he would run to him and then sit on his lap and request him to tell stories. The children always like to listen to stories, and Swamiji used to tell stories. So many stories, of course, about India, the land, its mountains and forests, its rivers, the peacocks, the monkeys, the elephants, like that. And the girl, of course, used to listen, sitting on his lap, with full concentration about these little things. So every time she would request, one more story, Swami. So like that she would tell, and Swami also tell another story. So that the little girl became very much attached to Swami Vivekananda. She would ask about his orange robe, red colored sash, and the turban. And of course, the children always ask questions like that. It may appear silly to us, but it was meaningful to the child. And Swamiji, of course, used to give the fitting reply. Why he wore this orange robe, why his sash was red in color, and things like that. So they became extremely intimate. So now, this girl, Cornelia, remained single throughout her life. She was working in a business house and earning for herself. And one day what happened, in the Chicago ashram, they have a lecture hall where the Swami, the minister in charge, he addresses on Sundays the congregation. That was the practice in those days, that is the practice even today. So the gentleman, a devotee, a disciple named Roland Olson, he was a disciple of Swami Bhasyananji. He comes to listen to his Guru. Because Sunday lectures are given by the minister in charge, the Swami concerned, the head of the center. So he came to listen to his Guru. And after entering the hall, he found that an old American lady is sitting there. And he was disappointed. He thought that he has not come to listen to the old lady. And what this old American lady has to offer? He was feeling disappointed. Anyway, he had entered, he sat down. And after listening for a couple of minutes, he felt that it was worthwhile. That lady was very old. She had seen Swami Vivekananda 77 years ago. That means she was 83 years old at that time. But she had a very powerful voice and he was a compelling speaker and kept the entire audience spellbound. Well, how he kept this audience spellbound? Because he was telling about Swami Vivekananda and everybody wanted to know about Swami Vivekananda. So Swami Vivekananda stayed in Chicago in their own house, looked at the Lake Michigan, the same Lakeshore Drive, all the familiar places. The Art Institute, all those things are very close to each other. And of course, I had the good fortune to see those places by the grace of Ramakrishna. And so when I tell all those memories are actually flooding into mind. The house where the Leons lived, that house is not there. That has been demolished. But art institution is still there. That hall of Columbus is not there. But the art institute, the building is still there. And Cornelia actually was telling in her words about Swami Vivekananda, how he looked on the, walked on the Lakeshore Drive, how he looked at the Lake Michigan, and how he mixed with the children, with the grown-up people, how he was trying to learn, to learn the society, because he had come to a new society from India. So he was trying to learn a Western society. So these are all things actually she was explaining and people were listening with great attention. So this Roland Olson actually tells the disciple that one day she read in the New York Times, there was a column, the reader's column, and there was a mention of Swami Vivekananda. A lady was writing a book, a biography of Swami Vivekananda. And Louis Bardach, that was the name. I don't know whether I am pronouncing correctly. So she was writing a biography of Swami Vivekananda, and that had come out in that column, the reader's column. And that was very interesting. And she was also a forceful writer, this Mary, the Anne Louis, and this Roland Olson was interested to read those columns. And after a few days he checks on the website and he found that there are 200 responses, references to that account which was published in the New York Times. So he was interested more to know about, of course he was a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna and Swamiji, but he was felt more inclined to know more and more. And he took out the book, Reminiscences of Swami Vivekananda, and there he found up the name of Cornelia Conger. And this old lady who was actually addressing, she was none other than Cornelia Conger herself. So after this, during the course of his lecture, she was telling that she was so much attracted to Swami Vivekananda that she thought of him constantly. And he told from the podium that she thought of Swami Vivekananda every single day, the whole of her life. So Roland was not convinced. He thought it's a poetical expression. It sounds beautiful, but it is not possible. She was only a girl of 6. And it was an incident which happened 77 years old ago. And this lady is telling that every single day of her life she thought about Swami Vivekananda. How it is possible? So he had that doubt in his mind. And after the class was over, the Swami asked that Olsen to take that lady to drive her back to her home. And while driving actually, they had conversation. And he put that same question to that lady. That is it possible, Mrs. Conger, that you thought of Swami Vivekananda every day, every single day of your life? Is it possible? Then the lady writes that the eyes of the lady flashed. He looked straight at him and told that I meant every word of what I said. I have thought only of Swami Vivekananda all these years. As I told you that she used to stay single. And she stayed single till the last day. She worked in a business house, that was her livelihood, and he stayed in that house. And when this Olsen went into the room, he found that there were only pictures of Swami Vivekananda. Every wall, everywhere, there were pictures of Swami Vivekananda, and that lady stayed alone in the house. So that is the story of Cornelia Conger. So there are many American ladies who are actually became very, very attached and devotees to Sri Ramakrishna. There are other instances also like this, but I don't have the time to tell about that. So that's how actually it was a striking experience for Roland Olsen, and the lady Cornelia told him, because he expressed doubt that how it is possible for you to think of him every single day. Then she tells that if you had seen Swami Vivekananda just once, this question would not have come to your mind. Because you have not seen Swami Vivekananda, you cannot understand the power of attraction that he had. So I think I have already taken a lot of time, and it is time for me to conclude. So that was actually, as I told you, that is a very, very fast subject. So we can only touch fragments here and there. And if I try to speak about the entire note, it will take me probably 5 or 6 hours. But I conclude here, but I am very much pleased that I had this opportunity to address, to share my thoughts with this august assembly, with learned students, the cream of the Indian society, learned faculty, learned guests, sitting right in front of us. So it's a great pleasure. And before I conclude, I invoke the blessings of Swamiji in all of you. Let Swamiji bless us all so that we may live a fruitful life which Swamiji dreamed for the uplift of our nation, for the uplift of our society. We make our lives blessed and we become a contributor to the growth of this great society, this great country. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji, for those words of wisdom. It has definitely widened the boundaries of our mental horizon. As a way of expressing our gratitude and reverence to Swamiji, I now ask the core coordinators of Vivekananda Samiti to present a token of love to Swamiji.
Shall I come down?
No, stay there. We'll come up.